and the world leader in motorsports coverage present Speed World. Welcome to Houston, Texas, where the local sports scene takes on a new look tonight. The Houston Astrodome hosts the AMA Camel Supercross Series. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Houston Astrodome. Dave Despain with Larry Myers to bring you all the action of the AMA Camel Supercross Series. You said it best last week. The series opener is a clean sheet of paper. Now, good or bad, everybody in this series has one little mark out there.
That's the performance mark. We'll take a look at the newcomers. Ezra Lusk in the 125 class, Jeff Emig in the 250 class. They get A+. No two ways about that. Look at some of the veterans. Mike LaRocco taking the win. Only his first ride on a Kawasaki. Outstanding efforts on the part of Damon Bradshaw and Jeff Stanton. From out of the pack, they turned in stellar performances.
Jean-Michel Bale, series champion, remains a big question mark. Last year, he and Jeff Stanton won the first 5 races. Are we seeing some changing of the guard here, I wonder?
School is still out after only one race. I hesitate to make that call. Jean-Michel Bale did not look particularly good in the season opener. And there are a lot of riders out there, though, Dave, that I would tell you are interested in erasing that huge Honda win list.
Let's go back and take a look at what happened in Orlando and see how it got us to where we are right now. Big crowd on hand for the first drop of the game of the Supercross season. And way in the back of this pack, Damon Bradshaw and Jeff Stanton, two of the big stars who crashed in their heat race. The big surprise, number 8, Jeff Emig, out front of Jeff Matasevich. Larry Ward and Mike LaRocco starts in 4th spot. And LaRocco, Larry, was the guy on the move from the beginning, number 7.
Definitely he was on a brand new motorcycle for Mike LaRocco, a Kawasaki, and he puts it to good use. Just past Larry Ward to take over the number 3 position, sets himself up now for a pass on Matasevich.
And Jeff Matasevich, of course, coming off an injury last year. Here's a great move as Mike Kudrowski, number 3, just belts Larry Ward out of the way. Typical of the kind of thing that you see in Supercross. You've got to be aggressive. Inside move, number 7, LaRocco passed his teammate Matasevich into 2nd spot and goes to work on the real surprise here. Jeff Emig, a kid, leading the big Supercross race, but not for long. LaRocco goes by, takes the lead. Now watch the kid Emig cave in under the pressure. He falls and takes Kudrowski with him, and that lets number 2, Jeff Stanton, move into 2nd spot. Oh, he wanted around LaRocco in the worst way. Mike held his own. Great race.
It was an unbelievable race. What we're looking at are 2 very, very strong riders. They can do a lot of bumping and shoving out there, a lot of leaning on each other. They're old friends. You know, they've raced each other since amateur days. Now look what happened. Poor Jeff Stanton give it a last-ditch effort. He went down, and Jeff Ward, sliding up rider number 6, is going to take over the number 2 position.
So it's a Kawasaki sweep for the first 2 spots. Ward and LaRocco. Our teammate, Mike LaRocco, takes the first checkered flag of the brand new season. Wardy comes home with 2nd spot. Stanton settled for 3rd. So what do you think? Can Mike LaRocco make it 2 in a row? Let's find out as we go trackside and hear from last week's winner, the man who will put the questions to him, 2-time World Speedway champion and the 3rd member of our telecast team, Bruce PENHALL.
Thank you, gentlemen. Standing with me is obviously a familiar face. It's the man that won in Orlando last week, the opener of the Supercross season for 1992, Mike LaRocco. Mike, you changed manufacturers this year. You're riding for Kawasaki. Obviously, it's what a great start to the season. Now, how much can you contribute to the success of that first win? Is it more of the rider, or is it more of the motorcycle itself?
You know, like in everything, it has to be a little of both. You know, for me, it was a good switch. The team really works well together. They work for me, and, you know, I work well with the bike. So we had some problems. You know, they did all they could, and now, you know, we don't have any problems, and everything's going pretty good.
Okay, Mike, no one has ever doubted your speed. I mean, you're very, very fast. The only problem that people say, the problem with Mike LaRocco is inconsistency. Now, what can you do to try to improve the consistency?
Well, a lot of that was I wasn't a very good starter, and you know, I haven't been. But riding Kawasaki, you know, ever since I got on them, I've been getting better starts, and you know, I think that has a lot to do with the bike, and I think that'll help you know, me be more consistent if I get better starts, you know, every race.
Good job. Now, Coming off of a win in Orlando, obviously your confidence is going to be very, very high. Would you consider yourself a favorite for tonight's race?
You know, I just have to see. This is a different stadium, different track. You know, I feel good, and you know, all the guys I'm racing against are out there that want to win too. You know, I've won one race, so you know, I have the confidence in myself, and you know, I know I can do it. And you know, I myself see me as a favorite, but you know, it's just hard to say. You know, everybody wants to win. We'll just see who wants it more tonight.
All right, Mike LaRocco. Now, he seems a little bit shy off the racetrack, but believe me, once he gets on that racetrack, it's a different story. Back to you, gentlemen.
All right, thank you very much, Bruce. Congratulations to Mike LaRocco and Larry Myers. Let's say we take a look at this Houston Astrodome course. One of the longer and faster courses in Supercross, Larry. Here's the first turn in the first series of jumps.
It's kind of a step-up thing. They jump, Dave, right up on top of the third jump. There's a double. Here's another double. Now, that will be a triple when we get into actual racing competition. I think the weight of that Cameron battery pack on the guy's back says, hey, I'm not going to do no triple there. He makes a left-hand turn, another double jump. We saw some whoops in there, rough as part of the track. Another left-hander. And here's another, Dave, what will be a triple jump when the racing is underway and into this sand, and that is treacherous.
That deep sand, kind of a rarity in a Supercross course, and it'll be a factor tonight.
It definitely will. Riders just have no place to go. Their bike gets all squirrely. More jumps. Here's a set of moguls, or whoop-de-doos, as we call them in Supercross. Now we're cutting straight across the starting line straightaway, and here we come to what will be the finish line jump. Up and over the top, Dave. It's a long track, a rough track. Going to be interesting.
It is also one of the fastest tracks in Supercross, and it's built in what was called the 8th wonder of the world way back when, the very first of the Dome stadiums. We'll be back in the Astrodome with more after this.
The Supercross 250 and 500 champion. The AMA 600 Supersport champion. The AMA National Cross Country champion. If you don't have a wing, you don't have a prayer.
We're back at the Houston Astrodome to recap the action in the qualifying heat races. There are 2 heats, each of which move 4 riders directly into the championship main event. The good guys all want to go directly from the heat to the feature, and good guys indeed are the story. In heat number 1, we'll have Jeff Matasevich, newcomer Stefan Everts, 125 world champion, making his Supercross debut, and number 1, the series champ Jean-Michel Bayle versus number 2, Jeff Stanton. The drop of the gate, and we're underway.
What an exciting heat race this turned out to be. Now, the whole shot is going to go to rider number 9, Jeff Matasevich, Team Kawasaki. Behind him, well, Everts, you talked about him making his debut. He's here to try to do the same kind of damage to the American field as Jean-Michel Bayle has done in the past.
Number 6, Jeff Ward, moves into 3rd spot early. Number 5, Guy Cooper, 4th. And here's the challenge from number 2, Jeff Stanton, who had to work his way through a lot of traffic. He did not get a good start, and an even worse start for Jean-Michel Bayle. It'll take a while before we even see Bayle. Stanton at this point running in 4th, battling with Cooper, but definitely headed for the front. Stanton, injured last year, feels that denied him the Supercross championship. Here he battles with Ward for 3rd. I think Stanton has something to prove this year.
I think you're probably right. We're looking at a heat race here where the top 4 riders will go into the main. That's the critical thing, and I'm surprised that Jeff Ward allowed Stanton to go by that easily.
You're about to see number 1, Jean-Michel Bayle, enter the picture in a big way. Look at the double jump that carries him past Stanton. Stanton was balked by number 111, Everts. Everts was no match for Bayle. Jean-Michel demonstrating why he is the Supercross champion. Stanton never likes to let Bayle get away, so he whips by Everts on the outside. Watch what happens next, though. In the same spot where Bayle passed Stanton, you're about to see the other side of that coin. Here comes number 1, but bang, he cases it. He bangs the engine cases on the jump. That loses his momentum, and Stanton is able to come by and retake 2nd spot. So the 2 men expected to battle for the championship this year find themselves chasing number 9, Jeff Chicken Matasevich, to the checkered flag. Matasevich coming off that broken leg and looking strong. The main event, of course, is twice as long, and I think conditioning is probably the issue for the winner. Stanton, Bayle, and Everts take the rest of the transfer spots. Here's Bruce PENHALL.
Chicken. So we were talking earlier about got your starts, and hey, when you make starts like that, you stay out of all the controversy.
Yeah, you sure do. You know, this track, the start's real long, and it's really important for this racetrack. Like I said earlier, I've been getting good starts, so feeling really confident about the start. So that's probably 85% of the race. The rest is just trying to keep her in the front of the pack.
Yeah, you couldn't see what was going on behind you, obviously, but there was about 6 or 7 second place lead changes.
Yeah, I can hear the crowd cheering really loud. You know, I had a little bit of a lead, not much, but you know, I knew the cheering wasn't for me. I knew there had to be some action going on behind me.
Obviously, the track's working for you.
Yeah, sure is. The Kawasaki's working good tonight. You know, I'm feeling really good about tonight.
All right, Jeff Matasevich, our first heat winner here tonight at Houston Astrodome.
Thank you, Bruce. Congratulations to Jeff Matasevich, and on to heat race number 2. Another real dogfight as they power down into the first turn. Another hole shot for number 8, Jeff Emig. You saw him do that at Orlando, and he does it again here tonight. But the big story was the big crash. Mike Fisher on the ground in the first turn. KTM guy really took a lift.
No, he did, Dave. You can see him looking at his glove. A little bit of blood there. The helmet is all askew. He severely lacerated his chin. They'll stitch it up. He'll be back in action next week.
Meanwhile, Emig leads the motorcycle race over number 3, Mike Kedrowski. 12 is Doug Dubach. 21, Ray Somo. And 7, Mike LaRocco, the Orlando winner, again making moves, headed for the front. He made quick work of Somo. He will find Doug Dubach a little more serious challenge. And up front, remember Orlando, number 8, Emig falls off in front of number 3, Kedrowski. Kedrowski makes sure that doesn't happen here.
He gave a wide berth, didn't he? Went way to the side to make the pass. I don't think he likes the ground, so he's going to stay away from it.
Emig was a little bit of a roadblock here. Number 8 was holding up the traffic. Dubach was able to get by. Now LaRocco will make his move into 3rd spot, and that sets up the real battle that went down to the checkered flag. Kedrowski got away as those guys were racing with Emig. That left Dubach and LaRocco to battle all the way to the wire. LaRocco put a bunch of moves on him but couldn't get around. They're in traffic as they come to the finish, and that's a little confusing. Number 3, Kedrowski will win it. The real battle is behind them as 12 holds off 7. Dubach beats LaRocco for 2nd and 3rd. And far behind them, the final transfer spot went to Jeff Emig. Those 4 riders are bound for the main event. We'll be back to see some big names who haven't made the big show yet. The riders get all the glory. The mechanics do all the work. We'll be back in Houston after this. This semi-final time, the top 5 finishers from this race bound for the main event. Take a look at the highlights. We promised you big names. Jeff Ward, number 6. Larry Ward, number 10. Guy Cooper, number 5. Question is, what the heck are they doing in the semi-final?
They're trying to make that main event, and they'll do anything at this point to make it. Right now, Jeff Ward is in total control. He's out front, followed by Cooper. Now here comes Larry Ward. No relation. He'll take that inside line, takes over the number 2 position.
Just goes to show how competitive Supercross is. They peeled the top 4 guys off the heat races, and none of this trio were in there. Jeff Ward in his farewell tour. He and Richard Petty have something in common. Their final seasons of competition, and Jeff's got a good start here in the semi. Had a terrible time at Orlando. Former champion of this series, in fact, 2-time champ. Last lap had a little surprise in it as Larry Ward went after Jeff Ward. But before we get to that, Jeff Ward's going to hate to see this guy go.
Oh, definitely. He's meant so much to the sport, just like Richard Petty, as a matter of fact, to NASCAR. 7 times a national champ, 2 times a Supercross champ. He's just an ambassador for the sport, a real gentleman. And boy, Dave, I echo what you said. It's going to be sad to see him leave.
And a tremendous charger until he gets into that doggone sand pit that we talked about earlier. That caused him a little problem. As Larry Ward came after Jeff, here's what happened. Up and over, and all of a sudden just tipped over like the guy on the lap-in tricycle.
It looked like he just grabbed the neutral off the top of that jump. When he landed, no momentum, and the sand just took his wheels out from under.
And so a few feet from the checkered flag, Ward goes down, and Ward wins the race. Jeff falls, and Larry Ward comes away with the checker. Jeff got up off the ground to finish 3rd. Guy Cooper was the beneficiary of Jeff Ward's misfortune as he inherits 2nd spot. And as we look at the results, he will split the 2 Wards. Mickey Diamond claims 4th. Mike Jones gets the last transfer. And we'll pick up the action in the 2nd semi with Sean Kalos out front. He got a whole shot and split, and this was basically no race at all up front. The race was back behind, and it was a good one. Damon Bradshaw, another terrible start, ends up racing Roy Somo for the transfer.
Miserable start in his heat race, Dave. He ended up in the number 6 position, missed a transfer by 1. Miserable start here in the semifinal. He was like 16th going into the first corner. He's making up, though, all of that ground.
Meanwhile, another battle involving Somo just a few laps later. Number 100 is the world champion in the 250 class. Trampus Parker from Louisiana. What's he doing racing in the semi at a Supercross?
Well, Trampus is really preparing himself for the World Championship Series in Europe. I think probably he's a little reluctant to get out there and bang bars and really mix it up with these guys, and I don't blame him. A lot at stake for this young man.
I think maybe it also makes the point that the American Supercross racers are the best motocross racers in the world.
I did not say that.
The World Championship, well, that's kind of a different thing. We'll have time to talk about that during the next 15 races this year. Give Trampus all the credit in the world. He did make the pass, blasts his way through the sand pit, and heads on into the championship main event. And out front, Sean Kalos had this kind of lead on Damon Bradshaw as the race boiled down, and that demonstrates the problem of a bad start. When you're that far behind in a short sprint like this, you just can't catch up. So Sean Kalos, who's done his fair share of World Championship racing the last couple of seasons, takes his Supercross checkered flag and advances into the championship final. Damon Bradshaw, battling the flu this week as well as the bad starts tonight, claims the second spot. He's bound for the main event along with Trampus Parker, Ray Somo, and Keith Johnson. The last two spots in the feature go to Eric Kehoe and local hero Dennis Hawthorne, who finished first and second in the last chance qualifier. We'll be back with more after this. Events tonight. Number 1, Brian Swink, the Eastern Regional Supercross champion. Number 117, Ezra Lusk, the hero last week in Orlando. And to tell us how all this regional championship battling works, here's Bruce Penhall.
Thank you, gentlemen. On the 125 Supercross scene, any of the races east of the Mississippi River will pay points towards the Eastern Regional Championships. Races out west will pay points towards the Western Regional Championships. Now, here in Houston is one of two races where both regions combined will race together. It always proves to be an exciting night of racing. Now, you have to keep in mind, this is a battle between west versus east to see who is the best.
Well, I think the East is going to come out on top, hopefully, you know, with me winning and the other East Coast guys right behind me, my teammate Ezra Lusk.
I think both series this year are both pretty tough, and hopefully, you know, there'll be some good battles, and we'll be able to show, you know, which side's better.
This is the first race of the season for the Western Regional riders. Now, the East Coast boys had a ride last week in Orlando. They were able to air it all out. The question is, do the East Coast boys have an advantage tonight here in Houston? Back to you, David and Larry.
Want to take a shot at that one, Myers? The East Coast guys have an advantage?
I don't think they do. Since the last Supercross here in the States, they've been to Europe racing other Supercrosses. They've been doing outdoor races. I don't think there's any advantage at all.
Well, we're going to find out real quick because it is main event time for the 125 class. The stars of the future of Supercross are at the gate. And we're underway. The charge is on to the first turn. Will it be east? Will it be west? It's Ezra Lusk who has a whole shot, and we've got trouble. Jimmy Button, who crashed a week ago at Orlando, got up off the ground and finished third, has crashed again in the first turn. Ezra Lusk, the 16-year-old kid from Georgia, has again jumped out front. He was so spectacular in his debut a week ago. Can he hang on tonight and win his first Supercross? He's pursued by Jeremy McGrath, Jeremy Buell, Doug Henry, and Brian Swink as lap 1 unfolds.
Yeah, this guy, look at that baby face. Does that look like the face of a killer? But he is. He just continues to amaze and impress.
Look at the field piled up behind him as everybody goes chasing the 16-year-old youngster. How about this thrill in front of 40,000 fans? The two number 1s, number 1E and number 1W, both battling here in this East versus West shootout, and the rest of the field streaming along behind. Lusk uses the whole shot to build a nice early advantage. He's got 10 yards on the Western Regional champ, Jeremy Buell. And here is Brian Swink trying to make a move on number 19, Doug Henry.
Henry riding probably the best I've ever seen him ride in a Supercross. Outdoor motocross is his forte, but he is aggressive today. But whether or not he can hold off Swink, that's anyone's guess at this point, Dave.
A week ago, Swink rode conservatively, bided his time, picked his moment, and won the race. Tonight, he is faced with basically the same challenge. He's got a lot of people in front of him. The one man who's here this week that wasn't last week is number 1W, and that's the Western Regional champ, Jeremy McGrath, a pretty formidable opponent as Swink measures the competition up front. The battle of the Jeremys. For second spot, Jeremy McGrath from California and Jeremy Buell from Ohio.
Well, they both ride for the Pro Circuit Peak Antifreeze Racing Team of Ford Hondas. McGrath, as you said, won the championship last year. Jeremy Buell finished in the #2 position in the Eastern final standing.
They are all chasing the 16-year-old youngster, Ezra Lusk, graduate of the Amateur Wars, now in the big leagues of Supercross. Last year's second-ranked 125 Eastern rider, #36, Buell in hot pursuit. And I see McGrath starting to move up and put a little pressure on.
Of course, the pressure leads to mistakes. That's the kind of thing that he would like to work. And there was a mistake. He buried himself in the sand, Dave.
McGrath takes the inside line and says, oh, and now Buell is in trouble. I don't know, he did a U-turn. Now he's out there slipping and sliding around on the concrete.
That's like ice racing indoors.
Yeah, and I think that's worth another look, too, Larry.
Here it is from another angle. Lusk is way outside. McGrath makes the pass on the inside. Here comes Buell. Buell clips his rear wheel, loses control. No place to go except down.
Awkward moment indeed. Meanwhile, up front, Jeremy McGrath will try to use this opportunity to get away. Ezra Lusk, #117, will be challenged big time by Doug Henry, #19, and 1E, Brian Swink. A triple jump for Henry, and he dives to the inside, took the line away from Lusk. Lusk makes his second mistake in a row and drops the second spot.
I think we're looking at inexperience there. Lusk had no idea Henry was coming. He left the door open and zapped.
Oh, zap indeed. 1E, Brian Swink zaps Lusk, tries for Henry, got them both. Double pass for Brian Swink if he can make it stick. Handlebar to handlebar. They come down into the right-hander. I think he's got him covered. No, back around the outside, and a great retaliation by #19, Doug Henry.
Doug Henry just grabbed a handful of throttle. I think if you looked into his helmet, he'd be gritting his teeth and said, here I come. Man, was that a good move.
Now, McGrath missed all the excitement. He's out front by himself. Needs a rear-view mirror. I think it's worth another look, Larry.
It certainly does. Let's go back to that sand pit. Now, watch Brian Swink. He takes a new line. Meanwhile, Henry is trying to protect that position. Swink, though, got the drive. Zap. He passes one. He passes two. Now let's skip ahead and see what happens. How does Doug Henry get him back? Here it is. Henry just grabbed a handful around the outside, and I think that Brian Swink was not expecting that move, and he relaxed a little bit.
And as we rejoin the action now, McGrath has been reeled in, and it is #19 Doug Henry and #1E Brian Swink ready to put pressure on for the lead. This time, Lusk, you see glimpses of him back there, has fallen into fourth spot. It appears to be out of moves for the moment.
Interesting situation. Sometimes, Dave, when two riders are battling, they will actually go slower because they try to protect lines. In this case, they're going faster, and they're moving on the leader, Jeremy McGrath.
Doug Henry, whose biggest career moment to date was a victory in an unbelievably muddy, rainy outdoor motocross in Sacramento, California, is a couple of 3 bike lengths away from a career moment right here. If he can get around McGrath, he could win his first ever Supercross.
He had the inside line, Dave. He could have put a block pass there. He may have a little bit of contact, but he backed out. I think there again we're looking at inexperience. He's never been in this situation.
Well, he's in that situation right now, right up to his ears, as he is really the meat in the #1 sandwich, isn't he? #1 is McGrath, #19 is Doug Henry, and behind him, #1E, and once again, trying to make the pass. Oh, he's got that spot this time, and he didn't back off a bit.
McGrath, over the top of that jump, looked to his left and said, I don't believe this. Where is this guy coming from? Doug Henry, what a move, what a ride he's turning in.
All right, Doug Henry out of Connecticut, leading California's Jeremy McGrath. Brian Swink with the best seat in the house for all this, lurks back there in third spot, probably waiting for these two guys to put each other into the nickels.
That is exactly, Dave, what happened just 1 week ago. There was the position. Brian Swink setting in third, and he said, I'll see what happens in front of me, and he's doing the same thing today.
And I tell you what, I think he's going to try to use that outside line in the sand pit again. It worked against Lusk. Will it work this time against the Western Regional champ? It does. Great move by Swink. #1E pulls in front of #1W in the battle of the regional champions.
Well, earlier I said that I did not believe that the Eastern riders would have an advantage. Apparently, I need to rethink that as Eastern guys are way out front. Doug Henry leading, Brian Swink holding down the #2 position. There he looks like Brian Bosworth, not Brian Swink, but still the East taking the measure of the West. McGrath only watching from third place.
You better be careful. We have both those guys mad at you. That'd be a bad situation.
As long as it isn't Brian Bosworth that's mad at me.
Well, further to your point about who has an advantage here, McGrath clearly is not able to match the pace of these two Eastern guys, whether it's because they've got a race under their belt or not. His move, McGrath is out of the picture. Swink is back up there on that high line. Henry covering the bottom of the racetrack. Is this a pass for the lead? Nah, this time Henry's got the momentum and will hang on to the inside line. We'll be back with more of this battle in just a moment. Dave Despain with Larry Myers and Bruce Penhall. It is round 2 of ESPN's coverage of the Camel Supercross for 1992. Doug Henry is leading this 125cc main event, and he's challenged by number 1. That is 1E, the Eastern Regional Champion, Brian Swink. And look at the lead they've pulled out over the third place man, the Western Regional titleist, Jeremy McGrath. Looks like the East are going to have their way with it here.
Well, they're doing everything in their power to have their way. Jeremy McGrath, the West Coast champion, said it earlier when he said that the East Coast guys have one race under their belt already. They have the advantage. He's proving his own words, Dave.
And so as number 1W struggles in third, number 1E is in second spot. And for the moment, at least, Doug Henry seems to have a pretty comfortable advantage. Swink periodically makes a run at him, but I don't see the constant pressure that he needs to make the pass.
Henry is just riding a flawless race, if you will. Every time Swink gets close, Henry finds another handful of throttle and is able to pull away. Frankly, I don't know where he's getting it from, but he's doing the job. No two ways about that.
The laps are winding down, and if we're going to see any kind of move out of Swink, it's going to have to come quickly. But again, he's the master tactician. We saw it last week in Orlando when he won the series opener. He waited for the mistake by Ezra Lusk and then took the lead, and I don't think Henry is out of the woods yet.
Well, I think that any one of the riders will tell you, Dave, that you're not out of the woods until you see the checkered flag. But Henry, sponsored by DGY Yamaha, if he just continues at the pace that he is currently riding, he'll keep slamming the door on Swink, and he'll have this one in the bag.
We talk a lot about factory teams. Tell me how the factory team situation works in 125.
Well, there are two different approaches. We're looking at Jeremy McGrath. He is sponsored by Honda, but indirectly, they call it the Pro Circuit Peak Antifreeze Honda Racing Team. Honda puts up the butts and the bikes. There is another sponsor. Yamaha uses Downers Grove Yamaha as their arm in the 125 class. Suzuki, on the other hand, directly sponsors Brian Swink.
Number 19, Doug Henry. Oh, and a problem for the leader. He's caught one of the course marking banners in the rear wheel of that motorcycle. That's going to be trouble.
It definitely is. It is going to interfere two ways. One, with the rear brake. Secondly, it's going to be a definite power loss.
Okay, as Swink tries to close in, he sees the problem. Henry will have trouble. He's immediately off the pace. It heats up the rear brake. He can't slow the thing down. Brian Swink takes over the lead. What a bad break for Doug Henry. Clipped the banner, and we'll go back and take another look at that because it happened right where he made that big pass earlier.
Definitely. Look, he got the rear end of the motorcycle out, and it just sucked that streamer up. One little piece, that's all it took. It got caught inside the spoke, and from there it's that domino effect. Only here we're talking about a yo-yo effect, and the thing is just winding up into that rear wheel. What a shame. One lap to go, and there's no way now that he can win this race.
It's like a big long piece of spaghetti right into the rear wheel. Henry falls to second spot. Swink didn't make a strategic move. In fact, bad luck gobbled up Henry, and so it will be for the second week in a row. Number 1E, Brian Swink, headed for the checkered flag on the final lap. Last week he won it with brilliance. This week, he kind of backed into it.
Boy, we'll debate this one for years to come. Would he or wouldn't he? Could he have or couldn't he have? We'll never know at this point.
He knows he's got it, though, because with the advantage over Doug Henry, who's limping along here, just trying to salvage second spot, Swink is able to start the celebration early. McGrath not close enough to make a challenge for the runner-up spot. And this time, it's a nice leisurely ride through the sand pile for Swink. He's got time to burn here. Looking back over his shoulder.
He does. He definitely does. He's got this one in the bag. Of course, Dave, just a few corners ago, I would have said the same thing about Doug Henry.
It's an unpredictable business, Supercross. Up and over the final jump. Swink is 2 for 2 with the clicker and the style. He's headed to meet Bruce Penhall in Victory Circle And Doug Henry will know the frustration of this moment for many years to come. What might have been, not for that banner, all tangled up in the rear wheel. Top 5, Swink, Henry, McGrath. Buell falls to 4th. Chad Pedersen was 5th. Here's the rest of the top 10, and here's Bruce PENHALL.
Brian, we were talking earlier. It looks like you took care of the guys from the West, huh?
Yeah, it went really good. McGrath was out front. I was a little worried when he got out front because I know he's got some good speed. But I just kept riding consistent. He might have tired a little bit and caught up and passed him.
Now, did you see Doug pick up that banner, and did you take full advantage of that, or did you have him in your sights well before that?
Well, you know, I had him in my sights. I was kind of riding. He was riding really strong. And then at the end, about the last 3 or 4 laps, I was going to charge, and it was about 3 laps to go. He got in the banners, and I seen it, and I knew his brakes were going to go out. So I just stayed behind him, waited for him to drift wide in the corner.
With 2 wins, Brian Swink has a big lead in the Eastern Regional standings. Here's how the West were affected by tonight's battle. McGrath, as the top Western finisher, has the point lead. And we're setting up for the 250 main event when we come back. In the Houston Astrodome, it is main event time in this Camel Supercross. Number 9, Jeff Matasevich, a heat race winner. Number 7, Mike LaRocco, the Orlando winner, going for 2 in a row. Number 2, Jeff Stanton, denied the championship last year by injury. Number 4, Damon Bradshaw, hopes to get a good start for once in his life. Jeff Matasevich, big question mark here. Stamina the issue as he comes back off that broken leg. The countdown is now inside 30 seconds, less than half a minute to the drop of the gate and the start of this race. You want to talk about intensity? Look into the eyes of Jeff Stanton. There's a man ready to go to war.
It's the Supercross war. It begins in the first corner. Riders will tell you that the start is the most critical part of the race. That's why all of the intensity. That's why they're concentrating so hard. When the board goes sideways, we're 5 seconds minimum, about 8 seconds max before that gate will drop.
The Astrodome Supercross is underway to charge into turn number 1. Matasevich and Bradshaw, handlebar to handlebar. There are a couple of young rivals. Who's going to come out of this with the lead? Bradshaw gassing it over the big jump, charges into the advantage. He blew the start in the heat. He blew the start in the semi. He aced the start in the main event, and that's when it matters. Everybody else strung out behind him. Did I see Jean-Michel Bale dead last? I think so. We'll check on him in a moment. Here is the battle for 3rd. Number 111, Stefan Everts, a new European and American Supercross. Behind him doing battle, Mike Kedrowski and Jeff Ward, the Kawasaki teammates. Lap 1 in the dome, and the leader is Damon Bradshaw.
Actually, Dave, the start that Bradshaw just got, the best one this season. In Orlando, he did not start well, had to move through the traffic to finish 4th. I think he's trying to rectify that situation here in Houston.
Damon said before the season started he was much better prepared than a year ago. Everything has gone wrong thus far, but now in round 2, everything is going right for him. Matasevich in that 2nd spot. Everts, the surprise, up there in 3rd. The Americans haven't seen this kid. He's the 125 world champion. Kedrowski has moved around Ward in their 4th and 5th place race, and indeed, Jean-Michel Bale is all the way back in the back of the pack. The champion is going to have to pass the entire field here.
Give a call to Mike Kedrowski, rider number 3. He's come from inside of the top 10, but had to pass a couple of tough customers to get into that number 4 position. He's on the gas, and let's see what kind of momentum he has going for him.
The next guy in his sights is the newcomer to American Supercross, number 111, Stefan Everts. Although I'm not sure number 6, Jeff Ward, is ready to concede that position yet. His young teammate, Kedrowski, ready to take the torch from Ward, who will retire at the end of this season. He's 30 years old. In contrast, Damon Bradshaw, just 19. Jeff Matasevich, barely into his 20s. And here's the new kid from Europe, the 125 world champion, Stefan Everts. He looks like he's about 12.
Jeff Ward is riding like he's 12. Look at him go. He railed around the outside, tried to take the measure of his teammate Kedrowski. He came up a little bit short, but boy, he put everything into that effort.
That's a pretty good battle. That is 4th and 5th spot. They're right behind number 111, Everts. And what this means is the guys you expect to see up front, guys like Jeff Stanton, Mike LaRocco, the Orlando winner, and Jean-Michel Bale, the champ, are all stuck back in the traffic. And that is a reprise of what we saw a week ago in the series these openers. Kedrowski, for the moment, has opened up a little interval over Jeff Ward. The difference between 12 and 30 is 12-year-olds can do that lap after lap. 30-year-old guys can only do it once in a while. And so, for the moment, Kedrowski is able to open up a little bit of an advantage. The surprise to me at this point, I think, is the European kid, because we haven't seen Everts before.
I would echo that 100%. You would think coming in here, and Ward almost loses it. He tried to go to the inside of Kedrowski, had to put one of the dabs or a foot down, and he almost dumped it. And now going to the inside, and Kedrowski stalled his bike.
They're stuck together because Ward couldn't get by on the inside. I take it all back, Jeff. He kept the pressure on Kedrowski, never mind how old. Kedrowski made the bobble. Ward rammed him in the back, and they both got tangled up. Bradshaw, the leader from the get-go, but on the move is Jean-Michel Bale, number 1, was dead last into the first corner. He just passed Sean Kalos and took over 9th spot. He passed 6 guys on the first lap.
He did that inside of about a half a lap, as a matter of fact. Bale is easily the fastest rider on the racetrack. Question would have to be, will his momentum carry him as far as Damon Bradshaw, who's holding down that number 1 position?
If you get to see the gap between Bradshaw and second place, I think you might conclude this race is already over. This is a one. Here it is right here. Bradshaw with this big interval over Matasevich, and Matasevich has got a pretty good advantage over Everts. Here's the battle. LaRocco is on the move. Number 7, Mike LaRocco, winner at Orlando, charging, and behind him a couple of spots is number 6, Ward. And remember, Ward, he got tangled up there with Kedrowski. These guys are running back at the tail end of the top 10, so they're a long way behind Damon Bradshaw. Right behind them and on the move. Whoa, on the move indeed. Jean-Michel Bale blast to the inside of Jeff Ward, and Jeff Stanton, we got just a glimpse, is right behind Jean-Michel Bale. They're far behind the leader, Damon Bradshaw. He is threatening to turn this into a blitz, a runaway, but Bale is the man on the move. He's working on Jones. He's up on the outside of the racetrack. Typically, Bale likes to pass on the bottom. Jones got nothing for him. Jean-Michel Bale on the charge. Now, Jeff Stanton is going to work on Jones. Stanton has been sitting there going nowhere. Now, all of a sudden, I think he's motivated.
It's like he was asleep until Jean-Michel Bale came along, and he says, hey, you know, I don't like to get beat by this guy anyhow, and now he's just turned up the fire, and he's chasing Bale and going just as fast.
JMB will give you a wake-up call, all right, and he's certainly done that for Stanton. They're up about 6th now as we watch Bradshaw continue his charge out front. The beauty for Bradshaw is nobody to race with. We'll be back in a moment. A Damon Bradshaw benefit here. The Astrodome Supercross has turned into a one-man show up front. There's an awful lot going on behind Damon, however. Mike LaRocco under pressure from Jean-Michel Bale, the series champion. This is the race for 5th. Bale has come from dead last. Behind them, Jeff Stanton running in 7th spot. Look at that huge leap before 40,000 fans, and they leap right off into the sand trap, and LaRocco bobbled a little bit right there. His motorcycle hung up just a bit. Bale may try to seize that opportunity and put some additional pressure on LaRocco. Here is Guy Cooper, number 5. He is the 4th place man. He's had a good run here, but LaRocco, Bale, and Stanton are catching up with Guy Cooper. Will they push him forward, or will he fall into the clutches and fall victim to a pass? Well, that's all in Guy's hands. At age 29, he's looking for his very first Supercross victory.
And what a popular victory it would be, Dave, especially this close to his hometown in Oklahoma. Cooper is loved by everyone, including the competition. If he won here, it would bring the house down.
Jeff Ward decided the big 3-0 was time to retire. I don't get the sense that Cooper, a year away from that point, is considering retirement.
Look at him. He has caught up now to the rear wheel of Everts, who is running in the number 3 position.
Here comes the freight train. LaRocco, Bale, and Stanton trying to run down the 4th place man, Guy Cooper, and indeed closing in just a little bit, while Bradshaw makes the runaway out front, and Matasevich sits solidly in 2nd. Here are the 2 men who battled last year for the championship. Jean-Michel Bale, number 1, and Jeff Stanton, number 2. Stanton got hurt. Bale took the crown. Stanton's back for revenge. This could be the matchup of the 1999 1992 season. For the moment, Vail definitely having the better of it. But the questions continue about this guy. He wasn't motivated at all in the opener.
Well, he wasn't, but I want to go back and say that I'm not sure if it was a lack of motivation or a lack of training because of the injury that he suffered in Europe, Dave. And remember I said at the outset, school is still out. We'll find out about Jean-Michel Vail, what he's made of as the season progresses, and maybe after this event.
He's certainly been impressive here tonight with his charge through traffic, and now he is indeed at the rear wheel of Larocco. So the Orlando winner is about to feel the heat from the series champion. Let's see if he's up for it. Let's make a point about the racetrack. Number 2, Jeff Stanton, told the Cycle News reporter here he doesn't like the track. He thinks it's too easy, and the effect of that, oh, and there goes Vail. That's the shot. He saw the opening under Larocco, dove underneath. He goes to 5th. Here are the 3rd and 4th place riders, Everts and Cooper. Give a call to number 111. His dad, the 4-time world champ, Harry Everts. This is Stefan Everts, who already has his first championship under his belt in the 125 class. Cooper, a former American national 125 champion, so this is a pretty good matchup. My question is whether Everts is going to follow the Jean-Michel Vail career path and make Supercross his future.
Time for one of those little-known facts. Rider number 111, that's the same number that Jean-Michel Vail carried his first year in competition in American Supercross. Difference being, I don't recall ever seeing Jean-Michel Vail run this close to the front.
Guarantee you one more thing. Guy Cooper doesn't care how many world championships Everts and his dad have won. He wants that spot from him and going after it right now. This is the race for 3rd and 4th. Cooper the man on the move. Everts the man under the pressure. Bradshaw already starting to show off a little bit up front. The stopwatch tells the story. He is pulling away at the rate of almost a second a lap. And that's phenomenal.
We're looking at something like a 12-second lead over Jeff Matasevich, who's not even in the picture. He's all alone in the number 2 position. A great battle raging for 3rd place.
Yeah, look who's coming here, too. Catching that battle for 3rd and 4th is Jean-Michel Vail. Here's a Cooper move. They are side by side. Into the sand pit they go, and Cooper pulls off the pass.
Hello, he said. Welcome to big-time Supercross. That was a Supercross move.
You bet. I don't care how many world championships you've got. Get out of my way. Here come the 2 Europeans. Everts, number 111. Vail, number 1. Vail is the series champ, and he's working on the Belgian kid here in the race for 4th. A lot of career similarities. Everts has won a 125 crown. Vail won the 125 world championship, then the 250 championship, then came to America because he acknowledged that Supercross, this series, was really the showcase of the most talented riders in the world, even though they call that European GP series the World Championship. You see him looking back over his shoulder. That's unusual, but look what's behind him.
I can see why. There's a lot of good action back there, but I don't think he's race watching. He wants to make a patch and get out of the way of that thundering herd. And here he is moving up again to the rear wheel of Stefan Everts. What a race these guys are having.
Hey, it's a runaway up front, but it's an international dogfight from 3rd on back. We'll be back with more from the Astrodome after this. ESPN Speed World covering the action of the Camel Supercross Series. Number 111, the Belgian Stefan Everts, trying to withstand the pressure of the Camel champion. Number 1, Jean-Michel Vail. Here's a move by Vail up the outside. Nope, nothing there. Everts is impressive me tonight.
Extreme, but here comes right back to the inside. There's the guy that has to be the most impressive in the world, Jean-Michel Vail. He switched lines when Everts was looking over his right shoulder, went to Everts' left, and he just holds on rolling. We've got a confrontation there between Larocco and Everts. Here comes Jeff Stanton. Look at this. Stanton goes right by him. Holy cow. You get past once, and he was passed by 3 more, just like that.
That's exactly what happened, and he's shaking his hand. I think that contact may have hurt Everts a little bit. He's certainly now waving to the crowd there. He was sitting in 4th spot when the freight train caught him. It ran over him. First Vail, then Larocco, then Stanton. The leader is number 4, Damon Bradshaw. Got it all his way tonight. A picture-perfect evening. Got out front on the first lap, and he's just out there cruising, stretching at every lap. Doesn't have to worry about the traffic. Got a little roost there from the back marker. Had to duck his head. That's the biggest problem he's had all night. Second place battle. Cooper on the move. Look at that.
Cooper triple jump past Jeff Matasevich. Now, Jeff Matasevich, you recall, 1 week ago faded, and this time it's Cooper that's taking advantage of Matasevich as he slows his pace, as he just steamrolled into the number 2 position.
Cooper talked about that sand pit. He said, I don't like it very much. I'm going to try jumping over it.
He almost, if he'd have jumped any further, he'd have been up in row J.
Bradshaw has no concern about any of this whatsoever. He's glad the folks are getting their money's worth, but his intention is to take the winner's share of the purse out of here. He doesn't want to have to race anybody but the back markers. He'll be lapping traffic. And here now is the third place man. Number 9, Matasevich, was second. Cooper passed him. And now he'll be under pressure from Bale, who's very impressive tonight.
And we talked earlier about Matasevich's broken leg. This is what happened 1 week ago. Matasevich simply got tired. He's not in shape yet to take 20 laps of Supercross. It is tough, and it's taking its toll. It's happening here again tonight.
The other side of that is Matasevich has every bit of the speed that we saw before he broke the leg. He's happy about that.
Oh, definitely. And I think it's a matter of some training. And maybe he'll be running again with Damon Bradshaw, his longtime arch rival, who is way out in front now. Now we're watching the battle for the number 3 position. And there goes Bale to the inside. What a picture-perfect pass. Time and time again, he makes that kind of pass, making no contact. And he's the only rider on the circuit that has the ability to do that.
Behind him, number 2, Jeff Stanton, trying to follow in his wake around Matasevich. Stanton doesn't like getting beat by his teammate Jean-Michel Bale, even when they're back there, in this case, racing for 3rd, 4th, and 5th spot. Stanton will make a move on Matasevich. Well, no, he didn't make a move on Matasevich. He's trying to set something up here. But again, Stanton has complained about the racetrack. He says it's too easy. He says there's nothing to separate fast guys from slow guys. Right now, 3 wide they go. He makes the pass, and Morocco comes right with him. Matasevich is just getting tired. He falls back. Stanton moves up to 4th. Morocco is now 5th. And Matasevich is falling all the way to 6th.
Show me a guy that wins a race, and I'll show you a guy who says it was the greatest racetrack in the world. Show me a guy that's not doing well, and he'll find all kinds of fault with the track.
Yeah, David Bradshaw's found all kinds of things to separate him from the rest of the traffic.
And Jean-Michel Bale coming from last. I'll tell you what, it's been great racing.
You bet, Larry. We'll be right back. Nation here. King for a night in the Houston Astrodome. Damon Bradshaw has had this race his way from the 2nd corner. He is going to now come down and take the checkered flag, and a well-deserved checker it is. Had the flu all week, had a couple of bad starts early in the night. Blast through the sand pit for the final time, puts his foot down. We'll forgive him that. He may be starting to get a little bit tired, too. Hard work building up a full straightaway advantage over the likes of Guy Cooper, Jean-Michel Bale, and Jeff Stanton, who continue to run in the same order as when we left you. Here is the checkered flag, the 9th of the career for Damon Bradshaw. Had enough energy left to style a bit. Cooper takes his 5th runner-up finish. Tom Clancy's never won one of these things, but you got to feel like the time is coming. He's happy. For Damon Bradshaw, this is exactly what he expected out of the 92 season. He says he's in better shape. He says the motorcycles are better. He thought he was going to win in Orlando. It took him a week extra to get the job done, but he's on top of the heap right now. The result from tonight's Camel Supercross in Houston, find Damon Bradshaw over Guy Cooper, followed by Bale, Stanton, Larocco, Matasevich, Kalos, Kedrowski, Everson, Ward. Here's Bruce Penhall.
Damon wins the 1992 Supercross here at the Houston Astrodome. Now, you've been sleeping all night, really. I mean, is this sort of like a little tactic of yours tonight or what? I tell you, no one really expected you to win, and you made a great start, and no one ever got anywhere close to you.
Well, I wanted to try to save some energy, you know, and I definitely didn't mean to get such bad starts in those qualifiers. I just kind of got the bad end of that deal, but I knew if I could get a start, I felt like I could run the pace. I just didn't know if I was going to be able to run it for 20 laps. I've been sick, and I didn't know what kind of energy I was going to have, so I saved as much as I could, and I still rode really good and didn't make any mistakes. I think that's what made me, that's what helped me win tonight.
A perfect night, a no-mistakes main event gives Damon Bradshaw the point lead in the series over Mike Larocco. Look how close those Stanton and Bale are with consistent finishes. There's Damon on the left. What do you think? Is this going to be his year?
Well, it looked like 2 years ago he was going to win the championship. Everyone was confident he would do it last year. Maybe this is the year he'll put it all together. Certainly, if this race is any indication of things to come, he's got a crack at it, Dave.
It was Damon Bradshaw's night, but it's a long, long way to the end of the season. We hope you've enjoyed the Houston Astrodome Supercross. I'm Dave Mustaine for Larry Myers and Bruce Penhall. Congratulations to Damon Bradshaw. We'll see you next week.